Okay, good afternoon, everyone. Thanks for joining us here at Fenway. At this time, I'd like to introduce Principal Owner John Henry on my immediate left, Chairman Tom Werner, Red Sox President and CEO Sam Kennedy, and Chief Baseball Officer Chaim Bloom. In a few moments, we're going to have the opportunity to ask questions, but we're going to begin today's press conference with an opening statement from John Henry. John?
Thanks for coming today. Since becoming stewards of the Boston Red Sox almost 2 decades ago, we, ownership, management, and all of the men and women of this organization who work so hard to support everything that goes on here on a day-to-day basis, we've all held this wonderful baseball club to a very high standard. Today, this week, is not any different. We must ensure to the best of our ability that everyone in the organization represents the club in a manner that deserves the support and respect of our fans. Since joining the Red Sox, Alex Cora has been one of the many people who we work with that has consistently put the organization ahead of their own interests. He did that yesterday as we discussed how to move forward. We're here to answer your questions, but it would be inappropriate for any of us to comment on the ruling against another club. Regarding the ongoing investigation here in Boston, MLB is doing a thorough investigation, as thorough as what took place in Houston, and we believe that all pertinent facts will be ascertained. We would ask that everyone reserve judgment until MLB completes its investigation and determines whether rules were violated. I want to make it clear that we take very, very seriously any allegations made against members of our organization, and we investigate them fully. In the ongoing case, I can tell you that we are working with baseball to the fullest extent possible. I stated at the beginning that we have now been here almost 2 decades. We've had tremendous success with incredibly challenging goals, tough decisions that have often been difficult. But if I could give one insight into the people of this organization, it is that virtually all of us see this organization as a family. That feeling was operating yesterday in making a tough decision. It operates throughout the organization daily. And it's how we approach holding each other accountable and to the highest standards with the highest goals. We will continue to move forward in that manner with what continues to drive all of us, and that is the burning desire to host World Series here in Boston. Thank you.
Thank you, John. Okay, members of the media, if you have a question, please note we have 3 microphones, one on this far aisle on my left, in the middle, and on the right here. Please state your name and affiliation before asking your question, and please make sure you direct who your question is to. Begin with on my right, back here.
Hi, Dan Roach from WBZ. Question for John, Tom, and Sam as well. Knowing what Alex did here and what he's done for this franchise, what have the last 24, 48 hours been like for all of you to go through this process and have to make the decision that you all came to?
Well, yesterday was a difficult day. We all read the commissioner's report the day before. We had someone said something contrary, but we had no advance knowledge of the findings of the report. And we met with Alex yesterday, and as John has said, everyone went into that meeting trying to answer the question is what was in the best interest for the Boston Red Sox. Alex was professional, understanding that he had made a mistake, and so after a couple of conversations, we all mutually agreed that we needed to part ways, but we do it, as we said yesterday, it was a sad day because we all have such respect for Alex. He admitted that what he did was wrong, but that doesn't mitigate, in our opinion, the extraordinary talent that he has, and we continue to be very fond of Alex.
I would just add to that, yesterday, while it was difficult personally for a lot of people, professionally, it was ultimately an easy decision for the Red Sox and for Alex. It was a mutual decision. I know corporations, companies sometimes put out these statements that we've mutually agreed to part ways, and it might mean something different. In this case, it did not mean something different. Alex came to the conclusion that he could not effectively lead the organization going forward in light of the commissioner's findings and the ruling, and we came to that conclusion as well. And John, Tom, myself, Chaim, and Alex spent the day yesterday talking through the best path forward for the Boston Red Sox, and that's how we came to this decision collectively.
Bob Halloran from WCVB. You've each expressed sadness over this situation. Is there also anger or embarrassment as you related to a cheating scandal?
I think that what Alex did was wrong, and I think he would agree to that. As Sam has just said, if you think about what's in the best interest of the Boston Red Sox, I think we all agreed that moving forward would be very difficult, and that what he did in Houston would be very challenging to continue to lead the Boston Red Sox.
Sean, right in the middle.
Sean McAdam, Boston Sports Journal, for John and Tom. What is the status of your Major League coaching staff at this point?
That's not the good question for us.
Yeah, I should probably speak to just first of all, the managerial position. The short answer is we don't know yet. Obviously this just happened. First and foremost, we wanted to make sure that we were handling the situation with Alex correctly. And we're going to, turn our attention to, figuring out who our next manager is going to be, and then, what that means for the rest of the staff. I can say, and I can say this now with a little more under me than the last time I appeared in front of you guys in this space, that, I have, and I know we have a lot of regard for the staff. And this was a tough thing for them as it is for us, and we're going to figure out how to move forward.
And if I may, a follow-up for Sam and Chaim. What are the particular challenges of trying to find a manager, either internally or even more problematically outside, when other teams themselves are prepping for the start of spring training in 4 weeks, in terms of being given permission to talk to other staff members from competing organizations?
Yeah, there's no question it's an unusual time to be doing a managerial search. Being at the point in the winter that we are, being this close to spring training, it's impossible for that not to be a factor in how we proceed, but it's not going to be the only factor, and we want to make sure we do this justice.
In the middle.
This question is for, Chris Smith from Mass Highway. This question is for Sam or Tom. Alex had a history of, or was known around the league as somebody that could steal signs, whether, legally or illegally.
Can you
before.
speak closer to the microphone?
Yeah, so Alex was known, as somebody before he came here, as a player even, as somebody who could steal signs, whether it was illegally or, legally. Did you guys address that with him, before, because of what happened in 2017 with the Apple Watch situation, and you guys had given some assurances to Major League Baseball that, it wouldn't happen again?
Yeah, look, I think it's clear that we're going to honor the commissioner's directive to not speak about the investigation, but it's also important to recognize that this collective mutual decision yesterday was related exclusively to the incidents that took place in Houston. And the only other thing I'd add is that the organization is well aware of the rules and communicated those to our uniformed personnel and our front office staff. But that's as far as we'll go in terms of talking about anything related to Boston.
Okay, Steve.
Steve Buckley, The Athletic, John, Tom, Sam. given that the Apple Watch thing happened just a few weeks before you interviewed Alex Cora in the Red Sox, there was an understanding it wouldn't happen again. Can each of you discuss whether or not that was conveyed to Alex, if that came up specifically in the interview?
I would just like to reemphasize what Sam said, is there will be a time when we'll be able to talk about this fully, but we ask our fans to reserve judgment on any conclusions that they may reach until the commissioner's investigation is over. But we obviously took the incident that you talked about, the Apple Watch incident, very seriously, and we had communications with other personnel about that.
I'm going to go to Kevin right here.
I'm sorry. I'm just speaking. I'm not speaking about the current investigation. I'm speaking about the interview that the interviews you would have had with Alex, and I would think that would be fair game under these circumstances. Was that conveyed to Alex at that point?
Yeah, Steve, we're not going to get into specifics around job interviews or anything related to what the question that you're asking out of respect for the commissioner's directive. So we'll leave it at that.
Okay, Kev.
Kevin Walsh, NBC 10 Boston. This is for Chaim. So you've decided collectively that you're moving on without Alex Cora. As far as your next managerial decision, have you given some consideration to just cleaning out all the coaching staff as it is, or eliminating it from the opportunity to be the next manager?
Well, we've just started to discuss that, obviously, in the last day. And we haven't reached any conclusions other than that. I fully expect we're going to consider, internal options as well. And like I said, we have a lot of regard for our coaches. It's an impressive group, and no reason to think, that number of them wouldn't deserve consideration for this.
If I could follow that up, though, does that mean, in you saying that you don't think they had any knowledge of what Alex was doing?
Well, as these guys have said, it's just because of the nature of the investigation being ongoing. I can't really address that question, but I would just reiterate what Tom said, that we would hope everybody would reserve judgment one way or the other until the investigation is complete.
Okay, on the left. Tom.
Tom Keegan, Boston Herald. Sam, in parting ways with Alex, did you ask him to sign a non-disclosure agreement so at some point he doesn't get into the details of who was involved and all that?
No, and we're not going to talk about any other details related to his our parting of ways.
Okay, and then how about for the next manager, will there be any contract language that voids the contract if he's caught cheating and then detail the reasons?
Yeah, there's standard language in baseball contracts. Wouldn't anticipate a departure from that.
Okay, on the right, Tyler.
Yeah, Tyler Kepner of the New York Times. For John and Tom and Sam, did you consider the alternative of just waiting until MLB's Red Sox investigation before deciding on Alex? And could you have imagined a scenario where you just apologized or whatever, and you said, you talked about what an extraordinary talent he is. You guys obviously like him. Just weathering the storm and bringing him back whenever his suspension's over.
We did consider, but we're not going to speculate on what would have happened if we had not acted.
Yeah, just add to that we certainly did consider that, and we had a very healthy process and a timely process. Like all of you, we learned the information from the commissioner's ruling on the Monday, and all communicated Monday afternoon and spent the day Tuesday yesterday, and came to the conclusion that this was the right thing in the best interest of the Boston Red Sox.
What was it about the transgressions that was so serious in your mind?
Well, what Alex, by his own admission, and we agreed, played a central role in what went on in Houston, and we all agreed that it was wrong, and that we had a responsibility as stewards, as John has said, to have a standard here where that sort of behavior is not acceptable.
And lastly, since that sort of behavior, something similar is being investigated about your most recent championship team, do you worry at all that the findings could, in some people's mind, attach an asterisk to that Red Sox championship?
Well, I just want to reiterate what we said, which is that we ask our fans to reserve judgment until the investigation is completed.
On the left, Alex.
Alex Spear with the Boston Globe. Two questions. First, when you say that you guys met and began conversations on Monday after reading the report, was that John, Tom, and Sam? Was that also Chaim? Was that also Alex? Or at what point did you connect with Alex to talk about the findings in the report?
We did not meet on Monday.
We met on Tuesday, Alex, is what I said.
And with regards to the possibility of penalties, having seen what happened to the Astros, does that at all impact what you guys are looking to accomplish over the duration of the offseason? Does that in any way influence roster building, how you approach the questions that you've talked about at different points about sustainability and potentially losing access to young talent?
With respect to the investigation, again, I know it's an unsatisfying answer, but we do need to just reserve comment on it until it's complete. Our big picture focus as far as sustainability, as far as putting us in position to win as much as possible over, this next decade, it has not changed and will not change.
Oh, Jason on the left.
Do you guys, are you conducting your own internal investigation at all and talking to your own players about what happened?
Yeah, we're going to honor the commissioner's directive to not discuss anything related to the baseball investigation.
I think it's appropriate to say this is a Major League Baseball investigation. They have much more. They have much more of an ability to investigate than we ever would. So.
And just to follow up, do you guys think Alex Cora deserves a second chance to manage at some point in the major leagues?
I'll take that. I think Alex is an incredibly talented manager and accomplished great things with us. And he was expressed remorse. He apologized yesterday to us for the embarrassment that this caused. And I think he'll go through a process of rehabilitation. And so we'll see what happens. It would be hard to speculate, but he's an extreme talent.
Okay. Tom, right in the middle.
Hi, I'm right here, second row, right in front of you. As you look at the potential, Tom Lydon from Boston 25 News, as you look at the next potential candidate to manage this team, obviously there's a certain level of crisis management that needs to be on his resume. How important is that now to get somebody who's going to be able to handle a situation like this under duress?
It's definitely a factor. I mean, this is a unique situation. There are going to be unique things that stem from this situation, and certainly from the timing of it, that I think we would want to make sure that, whoever is in that chair next has the ability to handle. But I would say in any situation, that type of trait is an important one in a manager. You're selecting a leader for that group that you want to, feel is able to weather whatever storms may come. We know that we are facing this situation, but the traits, the abilities that allow someone to successfully steer a group through a situation like that, I think are something you would always look for in a manager.
Could I just add to that? And I know that this has been a challenging week for us, but we are confident about the chemistry on our team and that the 2020 Boston Red Sox will be very competitive. We obviously underperformed last year, but we have every expectation that we will be competitive this year, and we have a great group of players, and I don't consider our situation to be that we're in a hole. We have a challenge in front of us, but we also will figure out a solution and be ready beginning of the season.
Raul Martinez, NBC 10 Boston. Hi, I know this process just started and you're in a unique situation here. As far as the urgency, is there a timetable right now before spring training, something to the effect of you want to get this done as soon as possible?
Yeah, we certainly do want to get it done as soon as possible. I don't think we've gotten to the point of putting any firm timelines on it. Mainly, our focus, to the extent that we've been able to start thinking about this, has not really been on the timetable. Obviously, the sooner the better. And we would love to, be able to have as smooth a spring training as possible. So that's certainly going to be on our mind. But we haven't, taken the step of putting a timetable on it.
Okay, Pete, in the back right.
Hi, I'm Peter Abraham from the Boston Globe. Would you consider having an interim manager for 2020 and then conducting a fuller search after the season, or would you like to hire a permanent manager now?
We haven't ruled anything in or out. I think that's part of this process is going to be assessing the best course, and I think it's definitely premature to say that that's something that we wouldn't consider, but we haven't gotten far enough in our discussions to know definitively.
And I guess notwithstanding this current situation, what are the qualities that you value in a manager as you're looking at different candidates?
Yeah, you look around the league and you look at many successful managers, and certainly the one we just had here, who had a great deal of success. And I think you see people do it in all different ways. I think the common thread that you see is ultimately, a big part of the manager's job, as well as our entire coaching staff, is to put our players in position to succeed. And there's a lot of aspects to that. There's a tactical aspect, there is a leadership aspect, there is a chemistry aspect to that. Setting a tone, setting an atmosphere, helping players be their best selves. I think that's going to be the biggest, or one of the biggest things on our minds, is that we have a really talented group of players. Having gone through this offseason so far with the staff that we have, I've seen the potential for a lot of wonderful things to happen to get the most out of those guys, and we need to make sure that we select a manager who is going to be able to facilitate that. But there are many different characteristics that go into that, and many successful managers who excel in different ways.
Okay, Duke.
Duke Castiglione from WCVB. Question for John and Tom. We know that cheating went on, or sign stealing went on in Houston. When you look at the numbers in 2018 with the Red Sox, you guys were 57-24 at home. Last year, you guys were 38-43 at home. And batting averages dropped, offensive numbers dropped. Do you think sign stealing or lack thereof could have played a role in that?
Again, we can't comment on this investigation.
On the left.
Yanni Crockett's WPRI over here. What sort of communication has there been with the players on the team and the coaching staff in the last day or so?
I can take that. Well, when this happened yesterday, Alex, of course, because this is the type of person he is, wanted to reach out to a lot of the guys first. And then, a number of us followed up with a large number of our players. Our coaching staff, they happened to be here in town for some meetings that were previously scheduled. So, we all, our baseball operations leadership, met with them this morning. Obviously, we informed them, and Alex informed them last night, but we got a chance to follow up with them this morning. And, as I mentioned, we spoke with a number of our players. It's obviously a shock, but, I think the group has handled this tremendously well.
Jimmy on the left.
I'm Jimmy Golan from the Associated Press. It's a month before spring training. There's things a manager would be doing at this point to get ready for it. Who's doing that now?
Well, this just happened, but I can tell you that, again, with our staff in town, there are a lot of good things in process to, again, put our players in the best position to succeed. We have a very hardworking, very dedicated staff. They have the best interests of our players in mind. They have the best interests of the Red Sox in mind. You add to that, our medical team, strength team, behavioral health, our front office. There are a lot of people working on this. So obviously, now that we are searching for a manager, that adds a wrinkle to this process. But it never has been and never is anywhere a one-man process. And so a lot of the great things that are going on to prepare us for spring training will continue.
Jen in front.
Jen McCaffrey, The Athletic. Sam, I guess maybe a question for you. Just, you guys mentioned that you had no previous knowledge of anything, ahead of Monday when the investigation came out on the Astros. But given that Alex's name was mentioned so often in that report, just were there any indications, or thought processes behind the scenes over the past 2 months, conversations amongst you guys of just kind of contingency plans if something did happen, knowing that Alex was talking to MLB throughout this process. I'm assuming he talked to you about talking with MLB about the process.
Yeah, I'm not going to get into private conversations regarding strategy or anything that could cause a competitive disadvantage for the Red Sox. But look, we're well aware that an investigation was underway, and our communication to Alex was consistent from the very top of the organization, from John and Tom, through me, through Chaim, through the rest of the group, to fully cooperate, be direct, honest, transparent, and Alex was. So that was the gist of it, and it's a difficult period to go through. But in terms of strategy or theoreticals or thinking through things, not gonna get into that, just because we prefer to keep those private.
Right in the middle tracks.
Hi, I'm Mike Petralia, CLNS Media. Hi, two-part question. First of all, you mentioned the communication with the players on the roster now. By your own admission, you have several critical decisions coming up this season, Mookie Betts being one of them, JBJ another. Curious how this impacts that going forward, if that affects the timetable. And second question is, video review for players. Video during the game is such a critical element for all teams. I'm curious if this impacts that going forward.
Well, to the first part of that, there obviously are critical decisions facing us on the roster front this offseason, but I think when you really step back and look at it, you see over time that's the case every winter. That's part of our jobs, whether you realize they're right in front of you or not. There are so many critical things that we do that have an impact over time. Our focus on those things, I don't think is any different. It's still to look at every decision through the lens of what's going to be best for the big picture of the Boston Red Sox, to put us in position to win as much as possible over the long haul here. And that isn't going to change at all because of this. As far as the second question, I think that's obviously a larger issue, I think, for the game, because there are some aspects of it that obviously touch on the ongoing investigation. I'm going to leave it at that, but it's certainly a critical issue.
Back right over here.
Ann Mostu, Bloomberg News. Would you give us a look ahead to spring training and what to expect?
In terms of?
Just any differences from previous spring trainings?
That's such a far-reaching question that it's hard to answer. Obviously, I think we'll be in position to provide a fuller answer once we get through this process of finding our next manager. But look, every spring training should be different. This is a game that requires that you always learn and you always grow and you always evolve. And certainly that is the case for everybody. That should always be the case here. So, I would expect that every spring training is different, but it's such a broad question that it's hard to really, answer beyond that.
Okay, Matt on the right.
Matt Votor, Mass Live. You mentioned having internal candidates. Are you confident enough from whether it's your conversations with MLB that the candidates that you might be looking at are not going to be tainted by any investigation going forward? That you could interview somebody confident that they'll still be available to you when the season starts?
Because of the ongoing investigation, I can't really get into that other than just to refer back to the original answer that you referenced.
Are they giving you? Well, is MLB giving you any sort of updates? I'm not asking for what those updates are. Are they giving you some understanding so that you can still run your organization?
Just can't comment on that. Sorry.
Pedro.
Pedro Gomez from ESPN. John, this is for you since you've been the lead steward here, as you pointed out, for almost 20 years. What is the level of embarrassment right now having to have this type of a press conference only 1 month before pitchers and catchers show up?
Well, it's not ideal. It's not what we would like to be doing at this point. But we were all surprised to read this report on Monday. But this is, I don't know if you would call it a logical conclusion, but this is where we are as a result of that.
Alberto, back right.
Sam, you touched upon it earlier when you met with Alex, Alberto Vasario Mundo. how you felt, but can you give us a little bit more insight on Alex's demeanor, how he felt, and is he in Boston now or is he in Puerto Rico?
Well, first of all, Alberto, I'm not going to comment on Alex's whereabouts. That's his business. But his demeanor yesterday was exactly how I think those of you and how all of us know him and would expect it to be. Handled himself with class, with dignity, with respect, and it was all about what was in the best interest of the Boston Red Sox, not any one individual. And again, just to reiterate, we all came to the same conclusion after talking through it together. John talked about family. We're a family at the Boston Red Sox. All the men and women that work for this organization we're a big family. We've been through a lot together in 19 years together. And yesterday, John referenced it in his statement. Everyone acted in the best interest of the club and knew that it was best to part ways. So he was he was remorseful. He apologized. And we thanked him for what he has done for the club.
Sean, middle.
For John, Tom, and Sam, each of you has made it a point to use the phrase to reserve judgment. Does that at all suggest that some of the reporting of the investigation or your alleged wrongdoing has been overstated?
We're not going to address that. I would just say it's unfortunate that we can't comment, but we don't have all the facts yet ourselves. We were surprised by what we learned in the previous report, but you know, to answer a previous question, we did take steps after the 2017 Apple Watch incident. We took a number of steps to ensure that we didn't have a problem going forward. So again, I think it makes a lot of sense. I know it's asking a lot, but it makes a lot of sense at this point to wait until the report comes out to be able to address any of these issues. And so I apologize in advance for any further questions, but it doesn't help to keep asking these questions.
And as a
I understand.
As a follow-up, if I may, on Monday, within the hour of the Astros discipline being announced, the general manager and manager were fired. Within 30 hours, your manager was fired. Was there any input from Major League Baseball suggesting that perhaps moving on from personnel might be a good idea for the organization?
No.
And I'd just like to clarify one thing you said. You said within 30 hours your manager was fired. That's not accurate. It was a meeting and a collective decision to part ways on Alex's side and on our side. So I just want to stress that, and that's an important fact here.
Tyler on the
This
right.
for any of the three who worked with Alex. You know, when a player leaves, you say, well, we're going to miss his speed, we're going to miss his power, whatever. Like, what are you going to miss about Alex? What talents that he had is the next manager going to have to find a way to replicate?
We're going to miss just about everything. He was a tremendous manager for us, and on all levels. So we're going to miss him.
Yeah, we'll miss him personally, his passion, his energy, his sense of humor, the way he cared about the entire organization. You know, he walked through the front office. He knew it was important to participate actively in the New England community. He knew it was important to give back to Caguas and all of Puerto Rico. He knew it was important to engage in Major League Baseball marketing initiatives. He knew it was important to win. And so he developed a close relationship with a lot of people here. So we'll miss him personally. Again, it doesn't excuse the conduct from the commissioner's report. Recognize that, but we'll miss a lot.
I just want to add to that I remember when Alex came aboard, the only thing he asked was that we bring a plane load of relief supplies to Puerto Rico, and Alex is an incredibly selfless man, and I spoke to him today and asked him how he was doing and how his family was doing, and he's just an extraordinary manager, and we'll miss him.
But this was the right decision to make.
I'm sorry, in the front right.
Forgive me, in the front, Whit Johnson, ABC News. How much do you fear this cheating scandal will tarnish your 2018 World Series win?
I'll take that one. Given the directive from the commissioner's office, we're not going to discuss it. But again, we would, since the question's been repeated, I'll repeat that we would ask that people, fans, reserve judgment until we know what the MLB investigation reveals.
But as we stand here today, do you still believe you beat the Dodgers fair and square?
Absolutely, yes.
Second row, right behind.
Hi, guys. Jonathan Hall, 7 News. This is for John or Tom, Sam, whoever would like to answer it. In this city, we've enjoyed so many duck boat parades. Fans have lost count, I guess 12 at this point. And yet, we have a cheating scandal here at the Red Sox. The Patriots have been implicated several times with different scandals. Little kids go to school with their favorite players' jerseys on their backs. How concerned are you about honesty in professional sports, and how important is it to you that you have a level playing field as you go out there and compete?
I think we've said it, that we are extremely sensitive to the Red Sox being a model organization, and that fans, and especially young fans, look to us to set high standards. And I will again repeat that we will reserve judgment about any potential tainting of the 2018 World Series until the investigation is done.
Pete, back
This is for John and Tom. In 2011, you had a young GM, and you felt like you wanted to have an experienced manager paired with that young GM when you made that move. Does it feel, is this akin to that situation at all, going back to that time?
I don't understand the question.
I think the question is the 2012 arrival.
Well, in 2011, when you hired Ben as your GM.
Yeah, with Ben and
he was the first time
Bobby
GM.
in 12.
And then you hired an experienced manager that season.
No,
I
go
don't
ahead.
think that was the driving. I don't think that was a driving force.
Okay, and then
Ben was highly experienced, not as a general manager, but no, that was not an issue. I don't see that as an issue at this point.
And as a follow-up to Sam, if yesterday Alex had said to you, I want to fight this, I'm going to try to ride this out, I feel like I want to continue on as Red Sox manager, would that have changed, the tenor of that conversation? Could you guys have come to a different decision had he said that?
Can't comment on theoretical or what might have been. I can just tell you, just reiterate what happened, which is we came to the collective decision that this was in the best interest of the Red Sox to part ways.
In the far left and back left.
Back here. Brian Dan of WEBN Boston. Besides reserving judgment, this can be for either of you. Besides reserving judgment, what other message do you have for the fans as they enter a new season? Right now, obviously, they don't know who their manager is. They're excited for another season of Red Sox baseball, but obviously, besides the investigation, is there anything else you'd want to say to them?
I'm glad you asked that question. Tom alluded to it, but we have high expectations in 2020. We fell short last year where we talked with Chaim about the fact when he came in that we're better than an 84-win club. We think we have a team that's built to compete in the American League East. And the bar that John and Tom have set for us here in Boston is extremely high. And we feel that pressure each and every day to try and put a great product out on the field. And so we have a very talented club. We think we can compete in the American League East. And we thank our fans for supporting us these past 20 years. As long as these two guys to my right own and operate the Red Sox, they're going to have those high expectations. We have high expectations each and every year, and as I said before, the highs have been high and the lows have been low, but we come into 2020 excited and enthusiastic about a very talented team, veteran players, younger players, and excited about getting to spring training.
Okay, also on the left.
Back here, guys. Nick Coit from ABC6 in Providence. This is for John, Tom, or Sam. You've been through this hiring process for managers quite often here in the last decade, and obviously these are extenuating circumstances, but is there anything you can do differently this time around in the hiring process to sort of look into the background of candidates, and because this will be your 5th manager in less than 10 years?
Differently. Well, I'm sure they're all different, but do you have any thoughts on?
Well, first of all, I'd say that Chaim is going to lead that process, and we'll bring our next manager on board. John, Tom, and I will be available, be there to support him in that search process in any way. And I think Chaim did a great job of laying out the characteristics and qualities of what we look for, and we'll go from there.
Just to follow up, just in terms of trying to find somebody that'll be in the position long term, because there's been a lot of turnover over the last 10 years. Is there anything you can do differently? And Chaim, you can even speak to that as well.
Yeah, I mean, I actually, John said that every process is different. Certainly, this will be the first time I've done this as a member of this organization. I think it's important. I think you can lose your way when you try to view these things as, correcting for any perceived past mistakes. I think it's really important to look at what's out ahead of us, and what's going to be important to this organization as we can go forward, what our players need, what our organization needs, and who we can bring in here to put our players and our organization in the best position for success.
Take 3 more. Julian, again.
Julian McQueen's Boston Globe. Chaim, Alex is obviously close with a lot of his, assistant coaches and hitting coaches and all this stuff. Is the goal to keep those guys on staff, considering some of those were his guys?
Yeah, certainly he was. He is, and that's a credit, to who he is, and also the relationships that those guys have shared. One thing I think is very important to me, and I think it's been important on a larger scale in coming into this organization, I don't like thinking of any staff as his guys, as somebody's guys. I don't think that's how an organization should operate. They're members of the Boston Red Sox. They're part of this family. And it doesn't matter who the initial connection was, who the initial relationship was. Certainly you want to make sure you have a good mix of staff. You want to make sure the staff is set up the right way. But to tag someone with the label that they're somebody's person just because that's who they knew or that's who they're close with, I don't think that's how we would want this organization to operate. We're a family.
Okay, June, am I right?
June Lee from ESPN. Alex had his hands and voice heard in a lot of places beyond just the clubhouse and the field in this organization. Is that something you anticipate out of the next manager of this team?
I'm sorry, can you repeat the beginning of the question?
Alex had his hand and his voice heard in a lot of places beyond just the clubhouse and the field in this organization. Is that something you anticipate out of the next manager as well?
I think it's really important in order to have success in that chair for somebody to be authentic, to be themselves. I think that's a challenge, when you're following anybody who's had success is, you want to make sure you're aware of some of the things that made them successful, but you need to be you. You can't try to copy someone else. That's not going to work. And so I think, most important, as I said, there's many different ways managers can be successful. We have to make sure that our next manager is authentic and is going to do, what's going to make that person most successful.
Okay, last question. Dan in the back.
Gentlemen, this question is for all of you. Dan Roach from WBZ. Just with what's happened here, you guys, John, you said it's not ideal. How disappointing is this? I know you all loved Alex, but to be sitting up here, how disappointing, sad, angry are you? And how disappointed are you that there's even an investigation into the 2018 world champion Red Sox?
Well, of course it's disappointing, but yesterday we all mutually agreed that Alex couldn't lead this organization going forward, and so we've turned the page, and after this press conference we're going to address the 2020 season, so we move on.
Yeah, a sports organization is at this level is focused on the future, and we are squarely, once this press conference is done, we're squarely focused on the future, and we will meet the challenges that exist and lie ahead.
Okay, thank you, everyone. That'll conclude this afternoon's press conference. We're going to have Chaim Bloom and Sam Kennedy available for additional questions. Chaim will be